My name's Jerome. I work for SWCA Environmental Consultants. We're the firm hired by the county to conduct the archaeological studies in advance of the county's road project. First, I'll start off describing the project. The county is going to construct a new Sunset Road that will extend from this interchange in that direction, bridge the Santa Cruz River, and tie into Silverbill Road at a right angle. So our West Side residents seem pretty excited about a new transportation corridor to the interstate, alleviating some of the north-south traffic along Silverbill Road there. I say new Sunset Road because some of you longtime Tucsonans may recall that there was a previous Sunset Road that more or less followed this electrical distribution line and bridged the Santa Cruz River. But in 1983, during the floods that knocked out several of the bridges, this bridge was washed out and never rebuilt. So it's the new Sunset Road bridge alignment. This road will meet up with Silverbill Road at a much safer right angle than the former alignment. Little history of this area. It's most recently has been used primarily for materials extraction, sand and gravel operations. Before that, it was the Sunset Dairy. Back in the days when milk was delivered to your doorstep, the Sunset Dairy was one of the leading dairies here in the Tucson area. And this area was basically their alfalfa fields. But the dairy itself was in that area, but it's been gone for a couple of decades. We did find part of their bottle dump. So we did do a little bit of excavation there, and we'll send representative bottles to the State Museum. All right, quick geography quiz though. We have two primary water courses in this area. There's the drainage out in that direction that everybody knows is the Santa Cruz, exactly. And then to the north a bit, there's a drainage that flows into the Santa Cruz, and that is the Rito Creek. I asked that question because although we're standing here, next to the Santa Cruz River, more or less, we are actually standing on sediment deposited by Rito Creek. We are on the alluvial fan at the mouth of Rito Creek. We know it's sediment deposited by the Rito because it has a lot of mica in it, and that reflects its source terrain in the Santa Catalina and Rincon Mountains. These Rito deposits extend from pretty far south around Curtis Road up north of where the Rito Channel is now to almost the Cañada del Oro. So it was a pretty broad fan. The channel of the Rito obviously hasn't always been an incised arroyo. It has migrated across this fan over the years. If you go back to the General Land Office maps from the late 1800s, you can see that the channel in the late 1800s is pretty significantly different in terms of location than it is today. In terms of the archaeological investigations, we started our work out here about 2 years ago with the first phase of excavation called a testing phase. And essentially what that is a series, we excavated a series of backhoe trenches across what is about a 40-acre project area. The idea being we would see what archaeology is present in the project area, how deeply buried is it, what type of archaeology is it, and by knowing that, we develop a research design and a plan of work for the more detailed Phase 2 archaeological excavations. This Phase 2 work started in mid-October of last year. So we've been out here for about 3 months. Yes, about 3 months doing the hand excavation work. We started our excavations at 2 Hohokam residential areas. These date to about 1000 AD. There was evidence of pit houses, storage pits, cooking pits, lots of artifacts. pottery, beautiful decorated pottery, flake stone, the chip stone, stone tools, brownstone, monos, metates, marine shell jewelry, bracelets, pendant fragments, really interesting stuff, but stuff you'd expect to find at a 1,000-year-old habitation along the river here. In late November, early December, we shifted our focus to this area behind us. We really didn't see a whole lot during the Phase 1 excavations in this area, but we knew that from other excavations conducted along in Santa Cruz here, that it could have been an area used for agriculture. These features are sometimes hard to identify. They're not associated with a lot of artifacts, and they're not traditionally burned features. They don't jump out at you when you're cleaning off the trench walls. So we excavated additional trenches in this area, and what we identified were several slight depressions in the sediment that we thought could be irrigation ditches. We also realized, and we've been fooled before, that they could be natural channels. Obviously on the Fan of the Rito after flood, you can imagine there'd be all these small rills and stuff. And we've spent a lot of time as archaeologists chasing out channels, thinking that they might be cultural. But that didn't stop us from doing it again. So we had, with the backhoe, we scraped down to that level and started following out one of these channels. And after a few meters, the backhoe operator, who's been doing this work for more than 3 decades, hit what appeared to be a plug of mud in the canal, in the channel. So he hopped out of the backhoe, poked around, and realized preserved in that plug of mud were human footprints. So we're like, well, not a natural channel. So we carefully continued to expose that ditch, because it's not very deep. I'm hesitant to call it a canal. And then we also exposed other elements of what was a very well-preserved agricultural field with human footprints dating from about 2,500 years ago to about 3,000 years ago. So significantly earlier than the Hohokam areas that we focused on earlier. We're pretty excited about the discovery of the footprints, but we are also kind of confused about how to best recover the information. As archaeologists, we're good about digging archaeological features, collecting the artifacts, samples, washing them, sending them off to analysts who tell you what they're all about. We write a report, that material ends up at the State Museum. But here we have about a 15 by 30 meter area that's basically just dried mud with footprints. You can't just cut that up and put it in a box and send it off to the State Museum. So what we did, we invited a number of other professional archaeologists out who may have dealt with something unusual like this in the past. We invited members of the tribe to come out. The Shawanoe Cultural Affairs Committee came out, tribal elders came out. We also invited individuals from the State Museum to come out, people who focus on things such as public displays and the conservation of perishable materials. And a lot of ideas were thrown around, and so we did a few things that we don't normally do with archaeological excavations. We did some drone photography, which is going to be used more and more in the future. We contracted Archaeology Southwest. There's a gentleman with that not-for-profit group, Doug Gann, who creates 3D digital models. So he took these photographs and he's creating a 3D digital model. And you can visit their webpage. He has some of this up, and you can see the field. You can spin it around. You can see it in 3 dimensions. What's even neater is you can put it in your virtual reality headset and stand there in the agricultural field. And it's really neat, and I'm convinced now that everybody's going to have one of these headsets in about 5 years. We also invited contracted a gentleman named Michael Lee of Leeway Arts to come out and take molds and casts, and make casts of some of the footprints and some of the areas where there are multiple footprints. He's done work at like the Desert Museum. He had worked at the State Museum before. And a lot of the faux rock work at the Desert Museum is the type of work he normally does, but he was excited to come out and make molds of footprints and then make casts. So we have a number of the casts here today, so you can take a close-up look at the footprints. Look at your own foot, look at these prints, and that sort of thing. But with all of that said, I think we're all eager to migrate over in that area, take a look at